friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So huge news last night on AEW's Dynamite. Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor. It was his huge announcement that he made at the very beginning of last night's Dynamite. But it's sort of his announcement left more questions than answers. He put out a press release, or AEW put out a press release explaining, that over 40 of their active roster members have spent time in Ring of Honor. And so they're looking to monetize, to leverage, to use a business term, the Ring of Honor tape library, because that comes along with the purchase. And, but sort of the bigger question, that's kind of the obvious thing. Like whenever they get a streaming service, which will probably end up being on HBO Max, they're going to dump all that stuff there. Hopefully, maybe they can have like a little subsection of HBO Max with a nicer user interface, perhaps, than Peacock has with the WWE network. Who knows? We'll see. But sort of begs the question, what happens now to Ring of Honor? They're running a show April 1st. According to Fightful, like the people involved with Ring of Honor just sort of found out the same time I did, the same time you did, the same time Larson did, live as it happened. They're like, oh, wow, there was some like chatter, a little bit of chatter going on the internet, some people speculating here and there. But apparently only people in Tony Khan's inner circle really knew about this. And so, yeah, kind of crazy. He now owns Ring of Honor. Now, let's be real. This is not the same thing as when WWE bought WCW. That was its direct competition. I mean, at that point, by the time 2001 rolled around, WCW really wasn't competition for WWE anymore, but they existed. They were a thing. Ring of Honor hasn't really been relevant since AEW became a thing and essentially killed Ring of Honor. Let's be honest. That's basically what happened. Cody and the Bucks and Kenny had Ring of Honor hook them up with the video production of All In. And then they used that. Essentially, Tony Khan came in and said, hey, this was really cool. Let's make this into a real thing. And then everybody signed up. And then the Ring of Honor was like, oh, wait, what? We just because they were trying to keep the Young Bucks and Cody under contract. They're like, oh, no, that sucks. And so, eventually, Ring of Honor, as they had some really, really terrific talent there, but they went through some kind of crazy times with like Marty Scurll taking the lead creative, and that didn't really work out, obviously. And then pandemic, they shut down, and apparently they paid a bunch of their wrestlers, but the damage had kind of been done. And although by the end, they still had some really good talent working there, sort of became like a mishmash of a bunch of different stuff that didn't really fit together all that wonderfully, at least, regardless if you liked it or not, at least it didn't fit together enough to really be able to capture the kind of buzz, I guess, you need to compete, especially once AEW became a huge thing. So now Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor, and it seems kind of clear as to what is going to happen. Cassidy Hayes over at Body Slam has reported just today that Ring of Honor is going to be essentially AEW's sort of a developmental wing. I know that there's Dark and Elevation, but I don't know if you can really consider those developmental necessarily. It's sort of a place where their established wrestlers can pad their stats, and it gives younger wrestlers who aren't signed with the company a spotlight, a chance to audition, and some reps on sort of a TV type platform. I'm not necessarily certain that's like a developmental thing, because at the end of the day, they're still bringing those people. They don't have like their own major stories, their own title, et cetera, et cetera. The idea still is, hey, I want to make it to TV. That's essentially the thing. And I know they have some stories running on Dark and Elevation. I don't really watch it that much, but I understand that. But essentially, it's clear what Tony Khan wants to do here. Show WWE how to do something right that they fucked up before. Ring of Honor is going to become AEW's NXT. And it's funny because I saw a lot of different sort of comments on Twitter, as you know, Twitter blows up about everything. And I saw some really sort of crazy ones. Somebody on my timeline said something like, yeah, this isn't going to pop anybody. Nobody's going to care about this. And I was like kind of floored. These days, everybody will give something a chance. You start something new, they will give it a shot. If you remember when the NWA, when Billy Corbin, why did I think that's wrong? Billy Corbin. It's Billy Corbin. When Billy Corbin dusted off the NWA and put it on YouTube for Power, everybody gave it a chance. Everybody was talking about it. It took a little while for it to fall off, but everybody gave it a chance. AEW's audience is incredibly loyal, and they're incredibly savvy to that sort of thing, to promotions that you would learn about on the internet or whatever. And so if AEW sort of puts a fresh coat of paint on Ring of Honor, and they get the wrestlers within their company that sort of have the spirit of old school Ring of Honor. I'm talking about guys like, and I put together like a little mini roster here, Daniel Garcia, Lee Moriarty. They'd probably end up signing Jonathan Gresham to be sort of, he is the champion currently. Even like Top Flight. You keep the Briscoes there, maybe even FTR, given they've already been AEW tag champions. And yes, I'm sure they can find plenty for them to do, but it might be cooler for them to be in Ring of Honor for a spell. Hook could get a lot of reps there. Jay Lethal could go back there because he's only been on Dark and Elevation. And then maybe that's why Tony Khan kept Brian Cage's contract, kept that option year. Maybe he's like, hey, I'm about to basically get the second brand as my version of NXT. I can send Brian Cage there to sort of be the monster guy. So it's people that sort of fit a certain thing that he wants to do that with. I mean, I don't know when Tony Khan sleeps. I honestly don't, because it seems like what he does is exhausting. But I don't know if he's going to be leading the creative or if he's going to hand it off to somebody else and sort of be like, hey, I mean, it's the most Vince thing in the world. This is my vision. Can you please carry it out? Who's going to be his Triple H? Who knows? All the chatter. So many people were saying, what if he gives it to Cody? I don't think Cody wants to do that. And it seems clear that Cody's moved on to other things. So I don't see that as a possibility. But I could totally see Ring of Honor being AEW as main roster, their NXT 1.0, where you've got this amazing wrestling stuff, and Tony Khan would attempt to make this into that buzzworthy thing that 1.0 used to be with their takeovers, where all the best wrestling in the company happens there. Now, AEW already prides itself on really, really good wrestling, so I'm not sure there would be as much of a discrepancy between the two. But you see what I'm saying? He puts a fresh coat of paint on it. The Ring of Honor presentation really did need to be freshened up in the first place, and so he would freshen it up, make it a little, I don't know, give it a much more sense of an urgency, I guess, because it sort of lacked that before. And roll it out there. I don't know on what. Maybe that'd be a selling point for HBO Max. Maybe it'd be like, hey, we want to run every week on HBO Max. Maybe live. Probably not. Probably bulk tapings with quarterly pay-per-views or, special events or whatever, kind of like the takeovers. And yeah, you'd build up the future of AEW within Ring of Honor, as opposed to Daniel Garcia showing up every once in a while on TV, being mentored by 2.0, which is an odd fit. And having to spend 5 years losing to the bigger talent. What if him, Moriarty, guys like that, they spend their time in Ring of Honor for the next, I don't know, couple years, build themselves up to a much bigger degree in their own promotion. And then you have call-ups, but call-ups the way that they should be done. That's one thing that Tony Khan seems to be intent on doing, is sort of showing at least his vision of what wrestling should be. And as fans, we all know how many call-ups were fucked up by Vince McMahon. Come on. It's like, it's clear as day. And I wonder if this is like Tony Khan thinking, man, that was a really cool idea. They just did it wrong almost always. And this is a chance for him to take a really cool idea that was almost there and actually execute it properly for his brand. So I get the feeling that's what's going to happen with Ring of Honor. And it is very exciting. It's very cool to see this play out. On top of that, it gives people theoretically more jobs, even if it's wrestlers that have already been signed to AEW, he'd have to bulk up his roster a little bit more. I mean, this would relieve some of the pressure on main roster for some of those people to go to Ring of Honor. And so it'd give another place for people to wrestle. It'd give more people behind the scenes jobs, production, TV, et cetera, et cetera. I think the possibilities really are interesting, to say the least, for AEW's Ring of Honor to become AEW's NXT. Interesting side note, Dave Meltzer mentioned apparently today or last night that at one point Triple H indeed did want to buy Ring of Honor, and Vince McMahon wanted to buy something bigger, apparently. That's what Dave Meltzer said back in like 2018. I think that was supposed to have happened. So kind of interesting just how many crazy things happened around like 2018. That brought us to where we are today. All sorts of crazy excitement in the world of pro wrestling. And yeah, seemed like a huge announcement. And yeah, I want to know your guys' thoughts though. How would you like to see AEW treat the new Ring of Honor? Do you want to see it as a developmental? Do you think they should just keep the tape library and scrap the brand and keep everything branded AEW? What would you guys like to see? How do you want this to go down? Check out one of these other videos right here. And on Sunday, of course, I'll be over at twitch.tv/Steven Larson for Revolution, doing our live reactions over there and then a recap afterwards. And then probably on Monday, I'll do my recap here for Wrestle Juice. So keep an eye out for that. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button right now. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you at one of these other videos.